So, and I've got my Mickey Mouse shirt on. So,
I have the exact same shirt and I was going to wear it, but people said it was in bad taste, and I just think
oh, yeah,
I support you 100%, and
that's
you're a
good.
very
We would have had to change, and that would have been, that would have been
that would have been
awkward. So,
awkward.
yeah,
That would have been
exactly.
like we should have phoned each other first thing in the morning, going and go, "What are you wearing today for this, David?" Yeah, it would
Well,
have been we'd have looked silly.
never too late to start. So, Hey everyone, it's David Stark from Watcher Pass. Today I'm talking to Simon Phillips, the writer and star of The Mousetrap, which is coming to VOD on August 6, 2024, and DVD and Blu-ray on August 13, 2024. I'm going to talk to him right now, and while you're watching, if you can like, subscribe to this channel, that would be fantastic. I'll spend a lot. Thank you. Thanks so much for joining me today. I've got Simon Phillips, the writer and star of The Mousetrap, which is coming to VOD on August 6, 2024, and DVD and Blu-ray on August 13, 2024. It is a horror film that is based on the newly public domain Steamboat Willie intellectual property. It has a obviously an interesting character. It's got some scares, and it is definitely there to ruin all of our childhoods. I am excited to talk to you, and thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for letting me ruin your childhood, David.
Oh, of course. So I actually, surprisingly, you and my grandparents have something in common. I brought these Mickey Mouse wood carvings that they did for me when I was a kid. So both you and my grandparents have chosen not to pay Disney royalties, which is fantastic.
Good. Listen, your grandparents had a great idea. I'm just here to carry it on, David.
Exactly. So, speaking of ideas, what sparked this idea in your twisted mind?
Right. This is how I'm explaining this to when David, you're out with a bunch of friends, okay, and you're drinking and you've had a few drinks. You've had definitely a few too many drinks, and you go, you know what we should do, guys? We should climb Everest because that would be awesome. Like we should just do it. A bunch of us should just go and climb Everest. Like we won't regret it and stuff like that. The next morning you wake up with a hangover and you go, that was silly. We're obviously not going to climb Everest because we've got stuff to do this week. Sort of. This is what happened with that. It's like it sounded like a crazy idea. Somebody mentioned on a night out that Disney, Winnie the Pooh had done this movie because it had dropped into public domain, and then somebody mentioned, oh, next year in 2024, Mickey's going to drop into public domain, and everybody looked and I was like, oh, really? And I was like, you know what we should do? We should make a Mickey Mouse horror movie, like just like they did with Winnie the Pooh, but we should do it now, and we should have it ready for when we should be ready. So on January 1st, we can drop a trailer. And rather than sober up, we just had this ridiculous idea, and then Jamie Bailey went with it, and he was like, "Let's do it. Let's get it together, and let's shoot it." And we did.
No, that's awesome. And you just stayed drunk, is what you said, basically. Like rather than sobered up, you just stayed drunk for the next however long this took.
That's a great way to think about how we made this movie. Is that we just never sobered up in the whole. And then now on January we had to sober up because when we dropped the trailer on January and it got like pretty much worldwide, it got 26 million views on the trailer. Then we were like, right, and they were like, we should chat with a bunch of lawyers to make sure we're not actually going to get sued when we release this movie. And that's what took the movie was ready on January 1st, but it's taken this long for lawyers and insurance people to be happy that we were safe and we made something that we won't get sued for.
I was gonna say, so just after most like long drunken nights with ideas, you talk to a lawyer right after just to see what would happen.
Just to go, listen, man, am I going to jail? Like, is that what's happening here? Like it was yeah, we did actually we talked to a lawyer on the way, but I knew what we had to do, or rather, I knew what we had to not do. We had to make our Mickey look like the Mickey from the original Steamboat Willie. He couldn't look like the latter iterations of Mickey because Disney still owned that Mickey. So I knew what we had to do, and we just had to stick to it. And then the only thing we had to add, I don't know if managed to see the movie, but we had to add disclaimers at the beginning, making sure people know it's not a Disney movie. So we did. But that was
Yeah,
it. But they left us alone apart from that. They were just making sure that, well, you can't have any Disney style music in it. It can't also, like there's weird things. There's like you don't want any brand confusion and so on and so forth. So yeah.
there we
We're
go.
all
No,
safe.
dot your eyes and cross your eyes. I like that there was specifically a line in the movie that was like, "That's the 1928 Mickey Mouse mask." I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh, that's a
and that
nice."
was part of it. They were like, "Oh, we need to sort of," I was like, "Oh, well, we don't need to say it." And they're like, "No, no, you should mention it." I was like, "Because you should mention what it is rather than what it's not." Yes, we got a line in the movie that referenced where he was, which Mickey Mouse we're talking about. So
Which is
they're
very
quite.
important. And I love your generic space crawl at the start. That was fantastic too. It like fit with the whole like theme of the movie. Because I saw this, I was like,
I thought it was a wonderful way to kick it off because that actually didn't exist originally. And then there were lawyers who were like, you have to have a disclaimer at the beginning of the movie saying it's nothing to do with Disney, sort of just so there's no brand confusion. And then Jamie Bailey came up with that space scroll thing, which is just how we would talk about it. I guess I'm just going to write down exactly what you said. I was like, well, no, we should use like legal language. Like this is not whatever the legal language is. And he goes, no, let's just write it down the way we would say it. And I was like, which I thought was a phenomenal way to start the movie. So hats off to Jamie Bailey there.
yeah, that was a great start. Now, you wrote this film in a wonderful drunken idea. Were you always set to play the manager slash Mickey, or was that just a consequence of making the movie? You had to get someone in there, and you were like, oh, I can do it. I might as well.
Well, I knew I could do it anyway. I've made movies with Jamie where I am the guy behind the mask. I've made other horror movies that have that sort of tone. So I always knew I was going to play Mickey and also I kind of wanted to because I was like, this is definitely a once in a lifetime, sort of thing. It's a cool thing to have on the CV. I've got a lot of cool bits on my CV, sort of. So, but this is another one, and I was like, I fancy being Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, no, I mean that is a great thing to have on your CV. There's definitely worse credits that you could have than Mickey Mouse. I guess it was Mickey Mouse because it's 1928 Mickey Mouse.
Oh, sorry, yes, it's the Steamboat Willie. I don't understand. Right, they keep making us say this, and I still don't understand it. But they go, "Well, it's the Steamboat Willie Mickey Mouse," and you're like, "Okay, so but it's still Mickey Mouse, right?" And they're like, "Yeah, but you should say Steamboat Willie Mickey Mouse." And I was like, "Okay, what is it not still the same thing?" And they're like, "No," and I was like, "Okay, all right, Steamboat Willie Mickey Mouse, okay."
Just make sure to dot your I's and cross your T's.
That's all it is, yeah.
So this was filmed at some sort of like amusement arcade. I guess those still exist. Where was this film? Was this film somewhere that you know well, or just did you scout out a
Yeah.
place that was like?
Well, so as soon as we had the idea, and the idea was, I had to go find the location because it's a lot easier to write something around something that exists, So, rather than writing whatever you want and then trying to find something that fits later. So as soon as I had the rough idea of a bunch of kids or teenagers rather, or 20 somethings, trapped in an amusement park or an amusement arcade or something like that at night. So then we went about looking for those things. So I did eventually find one. It's filmed in Ottawa in Canada. And there was one, and I talked to the owner. I talked to the owner of another one, by the way. I'm probably not allowed to mention which one. No, okay. I talked to another one, and they were like, "No." And they were like, "Okay." They were interested in the idea until we told them what it was, and like, and Mickey Mouse, and they were like, "Oh no, 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 we don't want that." So, but then the one that we did, which is in the movie, and they get a little. If you see the trailer, you see the name of it. It's Fun Haven. That's the name of the place. So they're going to get a great lot of advertising off this. I should definitely. And they just jumped on board with it and they let us film at night. So we filmed when it was closed, and there were some long nights there, David. But they just let us there. We were there for like 2 weeks. So yep, we just shot it all at night. Whenever they closed, and then we'd film till 7 in the morning, and then they'd open up for public, and then we'd come back the next night.
That's perfect. Weird. No, that's a perfect use of it, right? Like when they're not using it, you get to come in and do what you want. And as long as it's cleaned up, they're none the wiser.
Well, they're none the wiser. I mean, we paid them, but also we paid them when it's closed. So they're like, you guys are earning money 24 hours a day at the moment. So that's good, right? That's good business.
Work and smarter, not harder.
They didn't mind what we were doing as well. So I think they were on board with it. Slightly crazy idea that we had.
Yeah, for sure. And work smarter, not harder is what they say, right? They were definitely working smarter there.
Yeah, for sure.
And I noticed there was no steamboat. Did you look into like how much it would cost to have some sort of steamboat scene?
It was very tempting to try and find like a pirate ship that would have been neat, or something like that that would replicate what we were looking for. But we didn't. We couldn't find one. That was one thing I wish we did find because there's in lots of kids. Like arcades and amusement parks, they often have a pirate ship. But we didn't really find one that we wanted to. But it was part of our thinking. Yes,
it was thrown out there. Now, had you worked with any of this cast before, or were they all just kind of people that you got through like casting calls?
We did casting calls for this one. So I'm slightly older than the rest of the cast. So
just barely, yeah. You like 22, right?
22 and a half. And they're all 21 or something. They're a younger cast. They're all local to Ottawa, which is where we filmed it. So I hadn't worked with any of them before, so it was all new and they're all wonderful, but they're all young, very young actors, and I'm very old and jaded, sort of by my experience in the industry, but they're all still very keen and excited to be there.
Which also explains why you then went on a rampage, because you're old and jaded, they were young, and you just got so angry that you had to.
And I just hate that idea that they're young and beautiful looking and have so much opportunity in front of them, sort of. Whereas I'm tired all the time.
Which, yeah, no, I sympathize with that for sure. Did you enjoy ruining their childhoods too, or was that just a?
I did, yes. Everyone, and that's the response, right? People either love what we're doing, or they're like, Simon, what did like it's Mickey Mouse. Is there nothing sacred? Sort of, it's one or two ways. Although everyone agrees it's a good idea. So they're like, well, I was like, no, it's gonna go viral. It's gonna be very popular. And they're like, well, yeah, sure. I mean, okay, yes. I was like, well, that makes it a good idea. This is going to be a real interesting phase, David. Over the next 10, 15 years, so many characters drop into public domain. So many iconic characters. In the next 10, 15 years, like, Superman, Batman, all of the cartoon characters, they all come into, sort of, so we're looking at a real interesting sort of renaissance of what's about to happen to, these all these things that are just memories for us, about to be reinvented in some way. I don't know what way, but I'm very excited to see what they do with them all.
I'm waiting for this horror cinematic universe where they all come together and fight each other.
Think of it like an Avengers multiverse of, do you know what I mean? There's something there.
Yeah,
we should write that down.
Yeah, we should start drinking and start planning this.
We should. I mean, that's not a bad idea anyway. It's Friday, right?
That's true. That is true. So I know we have limited time. I'm going to switch to a lightning round, just lightweight questions about the film. I want to see how your personal experiences map to things in the movie. Feel free to skip any of them. I won't be offended, but I try to keep them very answerable.
Okay.
First question: do you like sour candy?
Yes, love it.
All right. So that was a good prop for you to have. Prop, yeah.
Yes, that was handy that they had to buy bucket loads of that.
What is the strangest or most intriguing piece of candy you've had?
I've had candy that has bugs inside of it, and I don't know what it is. It's got little, like a scorpion or something inside, like it's on a lollipop stick. And yeah, I don't know why someone would ever have that.
When I was thinking of this question, that was my answer too. I've had that as well. It's wild, but hey, why not?
I don't know why people make it though. They're like, oh, we should put a bug inside candy. I was like, should we? Like, all right.
You ate it, so clearly it worked.
I did eat it.
Yeah.
You know what? That's the same ridiculousness as me going, we should make a Mickey Mouse horror movie. And they're like, that sounds stupid and crazy. You're like, I'm still gonna do it.
That's true. That's true. So there were several teen archetypes in this movie. Which of those were you growing up? Were you Marcus, the nerdy one? Were you the goth one?
I wish I was cooler. I wish I was the cool one, but unfortunately, I'm the nerdy one. I loved Star Trek, the whole lot, comics. I loved it.
Oh, yeah. It seemed to work out fine for Marcus, so maybe that was the.
Yes, that's just me living out my. It's like maybe he does, live and he get, but yeah. So.
And the last question is, if there was another like classic cartoon, I mean, you mentioned they're all dropping into the public domain, that you could make a horror movie about, what would it be? It doesn't have to be that's coming into the public domain. Maybe some sort of future plan for 30 years down the line.
2034, Superman drops into public domain. So I don't know what that looks like, but it's crying out to happen. A bad Superman, kind of like a Venom is to Spider-Man. Do you know what I mean? Like there's an anti-Superman character out there for some reason. And a bit like, I don't know if you ever saw Superman 3, where he turns into bad Superman for a bit, and he goes around just messing stuff up. That is interesting. I don't know where it goes, but that would be a one to look at. But we have to wait till 2034.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to see that too. Yeah, that'd be fun to see like a bad Superman fight a good Superman,
something
Slaughter
like
Man. I mean, we'll workshop it. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, Bad Man. What's the opposite of Super? Really poor man. No, that sounds like he's got no money. Anyway, David, we've got time. So
super villain.
Super villain. Well, it's not the opposite of Superman, is it?
No, not really. Well, we can workshop all of these things.
The opposite of Superman would be bad woman.
Oh. I think I've seen movies.
Can we run with a thing that's a bad woman?
We probably could.
We're going to get cancelled straight away.
Yeah, it's very possible. Well, that's for 2034. Who knows if we'll even make it till then? So
we might not even make it. Like a society may not get that far. We could all. we're on the edge of war, aren't we? You know, we may not see 2034.
Yeah, all these public domain questions are just not actually going to be a question.
Yeah, they're not going to,
here.
yeah, because we'll have been wiped out of existence. So it won't matter. Anyway, but when somebody finds your hard drive in a million years' time, the aliens come, they'll go, I wonder what these guys were talking about, you know, and then they'll find this.
There we go. Well, you can wait for the inevitable collapse of society, but before that, check out The Mousetrap coming to VOD on August 6, 2024, and DVD and Blu-ray on August 13, 2024. This is the writer and star, Simon Phillips. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me, David.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This was fun. That was Simon Phillips, the writer and star of The Mousetrap, which is coming to VOD on August 6, 2024, and DVD and Blu-ray on August 13, 2024. It is a film that uses the now public domain Steamboat Willie intellectual property to craft a Mickey Mouse horror film to terrorize all of our childhoods. If you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.